Howdy, howdy, howdy. We're talking integers. We're talking adding integers. And today we're talking about the first rule of integers. And on your sheet, it looks just like this. And I just realized I made a mistake. Please cross that word out, adding. Cross it out right now. Thank you. And the first rule, you can fill in the blank here, is adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive. So go ahead and scribble that in. Subtracting. Oops. Spell it right, subtracting a positive. Now, before your eyes cross, because that's a lot of big words happening there, let's break this down a little bit. So here's just a little scenario. So little Billy owed his dad $4 after borrowing money last week. His allowance that week was $7. How much allowance did little Billy have after paying back his debt? So we're going to imagine this as a subtraction question. Okay, so here's a $7 allowance. That's positive because he's gaining that $7. And now he's subtracting, he's losing $4 because he owed his dad. 7 take away 4, of course, is positive 3. Okay, we've been doing that since grade 1. 7 take away 4. Easy. And we can even show that using integer chips. Here's your 7 in total. That's my $7 allowance, or little Billy's $7 allowance. And then we have to lose 4 of it, paying back dad. What do you have left over? Well, little Billy's got 3 loonies in his pocket, $3. Cool. But the integer rule says that adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive, and vice versa. So here, we're subtracting a positive. Let's turn that into adding a negative. So check this out. I'm just going to copy and paste this below just so we can get a better look at it. Cool. So have a look here. We are adding a negative, okay? We're saying that's the same as subtracting a positive. And we said on this one, the answer was positive 3. Well, if subtracting a positive is the same as adding a negative, then our answers must be the same. Now, it's nice to know tricks and strategies and cheats, but it's better to understand what's actually happening. So let's have a look at the visual here. So when we're subtracting, or rather when we're adding the negative, here's how it looks with our integer chips. We've got the $7 allowance again, $7, 7 positives. And this time we owe dad money. So that's debt. Whenever you're owing money, we call that debt. Okay. And that debt is $4. So it's negative 4. So we drew out all the integer chips, 7 positive, 4 negative. We saw that we have 4 pairs of zero pairs. We had 4 0 pairs. And they, of course, cancel each other off. And what are we left over with? $3. So there you have it. Subtracting a positive is the same as adding a negative. Same exact thing. It works the same. Now, how does that help us? Well, sometimes when you're looking at an integer question, it can be kind of tricky, right? There's positives, there's negatives. It can be kind of tough. And sometimes it does help changing these number sentences to something we're more used to. And we're used to subtracting positives. That's what we've been doing since grade 1. So here, you're going to go ahead and pause this video, and I don't know, a minute, 65 seconds, whatever. And you're going to turn these adding negatives into subtracting positives. So I'll go ahead and pause it now. Pause it. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you had enough time to get these done. If you didn't, that's okay. So let's see how this works. We're adding a negative. All right, well, let's turn that into subtracting a positive. So plus 7 will say the same. Plus 7, ugly 7. So adding a negative will be subtracting a positive. And this is straight back to grade 1, man. 7 take away 4. You betcha, that's 3. Positive 3. So we can see how turning this adding a negative sentence into subtracting a positive made it more manageable. So that's partly why we teach this integer rule, is so that you can manipulate these questions into something that might be easier to you. Okay. But it's also, more importantly, it's important to understand that subtracting something that's positive, like this, subtracting positive, right? We're subtracting how much money little Billy owed, is exactly the same as adding on debt. It's the exact same thing. Okay. Let's have a look at the other one here. Positive 25 plus negative 9. Okay, well, I know my first term won't change. It stays the same. So positive 25, just like it was before. I will change my adding a negative into subtracting a positive. And 25 subtract 9? Yeah, you bet. That's just 16. Positive 16. Now, you might have kind of noticed a pattern here. And if you didn't, that's okay. But the pattern is this. Take a look. You know what? I'm just going to write this sentence below it here. We're adding a negative. So I'm going to change that into subtracting a positive. So 38, positive 38, stays the same. The very first term stays the same. But then what do we do with the operation? Well, we flip it to its opposite. So opposite of adding is subtract. And what do we do with the negative 2? Well, we're subtracting a positive now, so we have to flip it to its opposite. Negative 2 flips to positive 2. So there's a little saying that we can use to help us remember how to manipulate these sentences. The very first thing, same. The next two things, change, change. So same, change, change. The first term stays the same, and then we change the operation, and we change the second term. And all we're doing is flipping to the opposite. Look what we did up here. Positive 7, same. Operation, changes. Second term, changes. Same, change, change. Same, change, change. And we're just manipulating these number sentences into something that's more manageable. Okay. Of course, we could use number lines. Of course, we could use integer chips for sure. Those are great strategies. Just the negatives to those, though, is that they take time. For a visual, it takes you time to draw them, it takes you time to use the integer chips, it takes time. So sometimes it's nice to use these standard algorithms to actually do it quickly and symbolically. Okay. So again, adding a negative is the same as subtracting a positive. And I hope you guys can use that rule to find some success while you're adding your integers. Good luck with your assignment. Have fun.